Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. Right, let's get into the questions.
Yeah, I mean, I relate a lot to what has been said there. I've only been in the Green Party for 2 years.
Speak up a bit.
Andy Child was the Green Party, by the way, and I wasn't local, but the party worker was joined there. And I think that I came to the Green Party as a socialist, although I was a geographer by training. I came to the party as a socialist, and I joined Green Left yesterday and so on. And I suspect a lot of people in this room struggle with some of the characterisation of people in the Green Party that are painted there, because I don't think many of them are in the room at the moment. But I think when you do come to conference, I can start to recognise some of the people that you're talking about. And I think you're right about the need for us to perhaps more openly challenge those images and stereotypes that you've painted there. Because the agenda is wholeheartedly a working class agenda. And I'm proud of the fact that the party I've managed to establish in Beijing, there's none of that going on, but I think it's because a brand new party started literally in the last 12 months or so. Some of the neighbouring parties have put some of those issues there from the people that have been in the party perhaps a little bit too long, got a little bit too comfortable with their image of the party and their route into the party. So I think the point I'd like to make is that I think we do need to reinforce what you're saying about challenging some of those images, otherwise we aren't going to be successful in having that broad-based appeal across the whole country.
Woman, please, over there. Yes.
Yeah, me. I'm Cathy Aston from Sheffield Green Party. Sorry, I'm Cathy Aston from Sheffield Rotherham Green Party. I mustn't forget the Rotherham bit. And we've got 2 councils in the central ward, which is a very mixed ward, and a lot of it is working class people or people on lower incomes. And what we've done, what we try to do in our campaigning in this ward is to, in the council what we try to do is things that are typically green, like getting insulation for people, getting insulation programmes rolled out for them. And including decent homes. There's something called the Decent Homes Scheme, which the council wanted to concentrate on giving people fancy kitchens, but actually the roofs were leaking. So our councillor Julian Creasy managed to kind of get to focus on the bits that really mattered for people living in this housing. But the other thing we've tried to do is knock on all the doors and take up casework and get known. And now people who used to vote Labour or had given up voting for anybody are starting to vote Green, because they can see that we do things for them and we get things done. So I think this business about making the effort, we knock on all the doors, go into all the areas, even if you think they're not going to be very fruitful in terms of votes. And throughout the year, not just at election time, do the casework, pick up the casework and try and get things done for people, and they appreciate it. If you do something practical, then people appreciate it. And I have to say there's a slight problem in that they'll vote for Julian Creasy particularly because they know her personally, they know that she does casework for them. So the problem is getting the association with the Green Party actually can be a bit of a problem. We've got to kind of do something about that. But I think making the effort to go out and door knock on areas where you think it's not a natural green area, they're not going to vote for us. They will do if you show you're concerned about them and you take up the casework.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
Pick up a bit, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to share my experience of the Green Party. Now, I am middle class, but I do campaign, and I've never run across anybody who said anything like that. And I think pretty much everyone in this room was absolutely disgusted with the fact that we were confronted with all of that stuff, and just absolutely shocked that there was a councillor who would say something like that, because that hasn't been my experience of the party at all. Perhaps because I'm not in that situation, and perhaps I don't recognise it when it happens, but I have campaigned on. I live in London, and that is an area where there are lots of people of different classes and backgrounds, and when we do campaigning in places like Camden and Islington, but also in other boroughs that's possibly different, like Hackney and Haringey, we do go to working class wards. We campaign in those areas because we know that's important. And I know recently I was campaigning in Camden, and there is one area that traditionally votes Labour. It's a working class estate, and we said we want to go there anyway, because although we might we might not win votes there, but we need to go there because it's important. They live in the ward, they matter. And I have campaigned on stuff like trade union rights. I've gone down and spoken to people that helped set in Southwark, people fighting for a living wage and living person. They can speak English particularly well, they are working class, they come from a completely different background to me, it doesn't matter. What they needed was a living wage, and I was helping them fight for that, and that has really been my experience of what people in the Green Party stand for. Honestly, I think someone mentioned Green Left. That's another example of people fighting for these dramatic working class, and so I wouldn't take it as a general thing of how what the Green Party is like, because my experience of other parts of the country as well, it just isn't, and it's terrible that it has changed.
Elise Benjamin, Oxford. I'm a city councillor, been a city councillor since '99. I come from a very mixed background, refugees, so poverty line as a kid. So I do understand the issues. Although we never said we were working class because we were refugee stock, and we never quite felt that you were allowed to say you were working class. I think I agree with a lot of what's been said. I would like to think that's a relatively isolated incident. If you tell me in confidence who it is, I'll find a way of teasing that same thing out on the night. I'm very, very sorry that your experience in Bristol has been the way it has, but don't let that tarnish any other local party. Across the country, we have councillors that represent council estates. Kirklees, Leeds, even in Norwich. I canvassed council housing in Norwich for Norwich Greens, where they've already held seats. I represent an area with one of the highest deprivation indicators in Oxford. We have a lot of hidden poverty. It includes 2 council estates. It also includes academics, it includes emergency housing. So, I'd love to come to Bristol and talk to your colleagues about how we campaign. Maybe it will help. But we do work. I've set up tenants and resident associations. We've got funding for youth to get into the local gym so they're not hanging around on the streets getting drunk. We work to get grants to improve the area. I do more actually for the tenants than I do for everyone else, because everyone else is more than capable. A lot of the own residents are capable of doing it themselves.
So I think we're
And
hearing
I think the thing is, we all need to be aware that an experience we might have in our local party might not be the case in the rest of the country.
Okay, we'll have different experiences in here.
I'm absolutely proud to be a member of the working class. Member of the working class, my grandparents were working class. I agree with a lot of what you said, but I have got a bit of concern about this labelling and about setting up this separate sort of group, whatever, just to represent the working class in the party. To be honest, it's just reinforcing the stereotype that all the other parties have with.
I'll just say a quick word about that. This group came about through the equalities list. My job of equalities coordinator, which I've done for 9 months, was set up quite recently, and I set up a list, and people who were interested joined the list. And it was raised by several people that there was a class issue in the party, along with other issues, of course. So this is just one of the issues that was raised in that equalities group, and that's why we've got this happening.
But the label's not helpful, is it?
Well,
Not for moving the party forward.
I think the fact we've got 60 or 70 people in this room feel it's an issue, the issue needs exploring. So maybe the label, but maybe we've got to work out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so much about the label as about what we do about the issue. Yeah. Margaret.
I sort of in answer to sort of her experience. In answer to some of the experiences I've had in the Bristol Green Party, I'm actually happy to report that I've actually found I've had some much more positive experiences with the Bristol Green Party about these issues. I've been a Green Party member for about 4 years in the Forest of Dean, and I think I thrashed out, there's a lot of wealthy landowning people in the party I was in the Forest of Dean, and I had to thrash out a lot of these difficulties with those people. And what I found, actually, one thing that really helped me a lot was that I had to overcome my prejudices about rich people, landed people, and I had to overcome getting angry when people said ignorant things to me. So when I came into Bristol and joined the Bristol Green Party recently in November, I felt more equipped myself to take on this challenge of bridging this gap. So what I found, my experience was that when Karen came along to meetings and talked about these things, I was very concerned about these issues as well, and I said to Karen, that I was interested in talking to her and getting to know her really and discussing this stuff. I think for whatever reasons, work commitments, was able to go to lots of meetings, go to lots of socials and really get involved, get to know people very well. And I think because I was able to do that, that really helped me. I found that these issues are sensitive and difficult, and it takes time and you have to get to know people very well. And what I found was that as a result of Karen's just mentioning these things about class, when we went to the pub after the meeting, I found that in that more informal environment it was easy to talk about these sensitive, emotive issues with some of the others, and I found that when I talked to them about class issues, we had some really constructive conversations and we really moved forward on trusting each other to talk about it. And I realised that with middle class people, I am from a very much working class background, when I talked about these things, I realised that middle class people also feel threatened and prejudiced and feel that they're harshly judged or that there's prejudice towards them too. And I realised I too have a responsibility to try and overcome my prejudices, which has been quite hard because in my old Green Party there was somebody who was from Eton, who'd been to Eton and St Andrews University, so you can imagine how tough that was. He was a nice guy, I got on well with him. But I did actually attend the Barbican conference, so I did actually get along to some of the Barbican things. The achievement idea, that is a very recent thing, and we have tried to change it. We are sort of changing it now to call it something less pretentious, really. But it is quite good to have a quiet moment just to pull yourself together. But I agree with the word achievement is pretentious, and we've ditched that now.
Okay, can we move? We've got quite a few other people wanting to say something and very little time left.
Yeah.
So what's that?
And I have been challenging the use of the word chav everywhere I go. And I just say no. Sorry, that can go in the dustbin with all those other words for them using it.
I just want to say, I don't want to say that it's Bristol Green Party. I really don't think it is. We've just got this book, it's a whole in society. It's within the environmental movement. I've seen it in other places in the Green Party. It's not just that party. So don't try and make it a problem of that party. I know that other people have other experiences and some things is better. But it does seem to be within the party because it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to say thank you so much to Karen for raising this, because this has always been one of my big problems with the Green Party and why I nearly didn't join the Green Party, but I eventually decided that the destruction of the planet was probably worth me getting over it. I think that Karen has raised an excellent point, and I think people when they're saying, well, we've done this for working class people, we do this, and we've got these policies which are good for working class people, or we've done this and we've done that, it's kind of missing the point in a sense that we have a problem with working class representation in the Green Party, and if the answer is just, well, we've done this and we've done that, then that's sort of suggesting that it's the working class people's fault for not coming to the Green Party. Yeah. We need to accept the fact that there are, I think that experience that Karen has talked about in the corridor is probably not that uncommon. It's probably not as uncommon as everybody in this room would like to think it is. I'm sorry. There are some right-wing people in the Green Party, there are right-wing people in my own local party, and if that is any indication of what it is like in the rest of the country, then I'm sure that's true. And I don't want to, the Green Party is great and has got lots of fantastic issues, but if we don't actually properly reassess our own prejudices, or perhaps the prejudices of people in our own local parties, then we're kind of missing Karen's point, I think.
Yeah.
I'm Liz Wakefield from Brighton and Hove, and I'm working class. I was brought up on a council estate, and now I'm cabinet member for housing. And that's an absolutely brilliant thing to do. And some of the tenant groups that I go to recognise me from when I was a child on the council estates, and that's given them a completely different view of what the Green Party is, because they're saying, isn't that our Liz? Didn't she live in the corner house, the one with the mad mother and the little dog sort of thing, it's that sort, they'll have those sorts of conversations with me over a cup of tea, and it's absolutely brilliant, it's great. And then they're sort of going, oh yeah, but then you went off to university and you became all posh and stuff like that, but they recognise me back again doing that. Elise wanted to also say to me, that was Elise Benjamin, that she had to go to get a train, but she wanted to tell me that in Oxford, some of the Green Party councillors are from the council estates, so we're not all posh, yeah. And the other thing is that my experiences are that I got real sort of, I'll put it quite bluntly really, nasty comments and piss taken out of me in Brighton and Hove Green Party to begin with because of my background and whatever. And I got comments like, oh, you can take the girl out of the council estate, but you can't take the council estate out of the girl. And I sort of turned around and said, I'm proud of what my mum did and where I was brought up. What's wrong with that? And it's quite funny now, because now I'm being quite sought after because of the position that I've got myself into. So I would say to anybody who wants to get involved, do not give up. The other thing is, like, I had never been to a wine tasting before. And you get invited, you know, a great idea for a Green Party fundraiser is to have a wine tasting. Well, how nice is that? And, you know, I stood there at the edge of this very swanky flat in Brighton and sort of thought to myself, shit, what do I do? And I might have been through school, through university, done my postgrad, all the rest of it. I had never been to a wine tasting, and I was in that position where I stood against a wall and thought, Christ, I'm going to have to see somebody and copy them. And it is that sort of thing that I really think we need to think about, you know.
Can I just say, I think we're pretty much out of time. We've got 1 or 2 minutes, but what's really important from this great group of people that have come, if I do have everybody who wants to put a name on this list that's going around, if not, please make sure you put it on before you go. And Karen's saying what's really important is to have a working class network
Of working class people to support each other when we get those kind of comments, because I feel I need that. I guess probably other people do as well. It's not about having a separate group, it's just somebody you can email, oh, this bloke said to me blah, not, oh, someone said that to me, I feel like, no, I've got to leave the party, because, you know, if I can't be accepted with not very much of an accent, God knows what's going to happen to other people. So, that's the question, is just to try and get the list of what one is going.
and we've really got to work out some ways that we as a party respond to all these issues. How do we do better on this issue, because we're not doing well enough. We're just not. I mean, in Yorkshire, the whole Barnsley area is just nothing's happening, for example. Just a couple more. Woman, yes.
Graham Rowe, Sheffield Green Party. If you look out the window, you'll see Park Hill Flats. Behind that is Hyde Park Flats. And if you can see over the hill, you've got the Wyburn Estate, the Manor Estate. It's one of the most deprived estates, wards in the country. And that's where I stand as the Green Party, and I came second. I don't think you call me working class. I'm certainly not working class, really. But I live in that ward. And I live in a small triangle of private houses. And we managed to do very well in that private part of the ward, the posh bit. But it's incredibly difficult reaching out to the other wards because, unlike Nick, I'm not working class. And we haven't got many working class members in Sheffield Green Party. Nick's very unusual. It's really hard to reach out to those people. So I hope I will be accepted onto this group to help me, even though I'm not working class, to reach out to those people, which I'm desperately trying to do, to get more of them involved in the party. I really want to thank Karen because I think it's a crucial issue and it's one that we really do need to tackle. So thanks for coming, Karen.
Woman.
I'm thinking of leaving the Green Party first.
Speak up.
I'm thinking about leaving the Green Party because I've just about had enough. Every time I go to a meeting to say anything, I'm constantly been told that I'm not understood. Or what was that you said? Can you say that again? You don't understand what you're saying. And in my branch, all the officers are middle class men, and all the target seat candidates are middle class men. And it just seems to me I'm wasting my time if I'm not wanted. I'm just feeling, I'm just at the edge now and I just can't take any more.
You are very wanted.
No, I think that
That's why we need support, because I feel the same, I'll be honest. You just get to the point where it's hurtful. It hurts people what's being done to them.
Okay, now.
I mean, I'm glad that towards the end people have started actually backing that up, because it's not just a few it's not really overt comments that are made that's the main problem. It's how intimidating it is as like a working class person. You might not know it from the accent, but I'm from Dudley. I grew up in one of the poorest areas in the country, and I feel like I've escaped that, but that's how bad it was. And it's really intimidating coming from that area where school was something you did if you couldn't find some way of getting out of it, And no, you laugh, but everyone there had that view, that, you know, education was pointless because you were going to work in your dad's shop or you were going to become a beautician and you didn't need grades for that. And there was no way you were going to become something better. And I was lucky, I was taught that there was better things, and if I learned, I could do something with my life. You know, but I went off and I went to university, and people do, like you say, look upon you and say, well, you're not working class anymore, you know, you've got a degree, you're not working class, that's it, you know. I'm a postman now, and they still say I'm not working class because I've got this accent and you know. But it's terrifying coming into a room full of middle class people who are going to wine tastings and talking about things I don't understand. I don't know what a fucking avocado is.
Yeah, two brief points. Very much agree with what Mandy was saying about sensitivity. Working class people who've just stood as a candidate for an area which is predominantly a large council estate in Bristol for by-election. Very strong Bristol accent, expressed to me in debate about, you know, the things you've raised, which is important, that not everybody wants to be banded. They do not want to be boxed. They feel they fall between boxes. And the second thing is, there are lots of people on photographs, I haven't been myself, but lots of people on photographs in the Green Party from all social backgrounds on the anti-Cox marches, and they've been doing it for months.
Yes, my name's Tony Goddard, National Green Party. I'm someone who's actually worked in the process industry, oil refining and power station type stuff. There's another person I eventually met in Sheffield who'd also worked in the same thing in the Middle East. He and myself have been canvassing for the Green Party in the past, but we've become rather less enthusiastic because of some of the policies of the Green Party, which many people actually think of as anti-science. Stuff like anti-nuclear power or anti-genetic modification. The last thing's particularly important because the work on this type of stuff, genetic modification, was often done by working class researchers in government-funded laboratories. And to be anti-something, you want to be anti-capitalism and claim the technology for ourselves. And I think the same applies for nuclear power as well.
I think that's a different topic, and we haven't got...
No, it's not actually, because some people work in these jobs.
I just want to talk about like how it's increased. It's clear, like if there's a group already in existence and somebody comes along who finds him or herself as working class, and they say, why don't we go to that estate, or why don't we meet in this cafe instead of that posh wine bar or whatever, that we listen to them, or that group listens to them, that's fine. And I think once more working class people join, then that will naturally happen, of course, to people who like to meet up where they're more comfortable. And it's getting that process started. And if you've got a group of people that all if you have a small party, a local party that doesn't have any working class people, it's getting those first people in, isn't it? So you've got to think about how you do it. You know, where, yes, you do I think the point about going and knocking on doors and doing the case of connection, you know, an obvious way, but actually getting people to come to the party and join up, that's what we need to do.
There's nothing stopping you suggesting having it in a coffee house instead of a trendy wine bar.
That's just something I'm aware of in my
I think that's the point of the whole thing.
Yeah, you've got to start thinking more about where you will meet working class people.
And it's the same with finding places with access for people with disabilities as well,
Yeah.
whether it's sound or physical access or whatever. We've all got to think more about all these things.
Yeah.
We've gone over time. Are people happy to? I mean, are people happy to say? Right, a couple more burning things. There's one, I think, Guy.
Just very quickly, please. Language, the use of language, the reading age, and the use of long-winded academic terminology. I'm constantly banging my head against various people in the party and in my local party about the language they use in leaflets and press releases, and it is not accessible to the majority of the population. We must crack down on this long-winded academic language.
It's another accessibility issue, isn't it?
And
yes, I'm one of 3 elected councillors in Solihull, which is someone here in Solihull that's in posh middle class.
Oh yes.
We all 3 of our elected councillors who've had a defection recently from Lib Dems have been elected in 2 of the 10% most deprived wards in the country, and at the moment it's the only place we can win. And it's because there's we go and talk, we do exactly what people have said, go and knock on every door, take up the issues that the 99% of the people that live in the working class, the issues that they give to us, they match with our policies anyway, we take these on board, and then they love us. These were safe Labour seats, and we won last year with 46% or 51% of the vote. So that's the way to do it.
Finish on that note. This is the point. We've got to get out there and show that we are on the side of the people who are being demonised, who are vulnerable, who are being got at by the mad situation we're in at the moment. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. Please make sure you sign this if you want to. And thanks again, Karen.